And that is why we need to... Hey, Chief, remember me from the taxi? Told you I had some good ideas. You said you'd get your people in touch with me. We're in the middle of a really boring meeting. Gotcha. That's why I came here to give you a splash of fresh blood and brains. Dyed puppies. Dip them in purple or blue. I'm telling you, they'll love it. They'll love you. Janice, call security. All right, glow-in-the-dark lip discs. Hey, wait. I got more ideas. More where this came from. Call me. Dyed puppies. I like it.
Welcome back to Like-Minded Arts. I'm Brent Lindstrom, and today we are talking about audiobooks. So, I don't know about you, but for me, it's getting harder and harder the older I get to actually read a physical book just for fun. So, aside from work, life, family, just balancing that all out, it seems like there's less and less time available for just reading for pleasure. And also, because I commute a lot, I have gotten more addicted to audiobooks. It's great because they used to be on CDs or tapes, and they weren't all that accessible. You'd either have to buy the pack or you'd have to go rent them from the library to use them in your car or truck, and then you're always putting in the new one, pulling out the old one, making sure you got the right side on the tape or not get the CDs out of order. But audiobooks have come a long way, and they have become so easy that when I'm driving to and from anywhere, I'm listening to an audiobook, and it's gotten me a little bit lazy when it comes to reading. Don't get me wrong, I still like to read, and I'll read books, especially if there is no audio version of them, and if it's informational, something that I need to know to advance my writing career or filmmaking career. However, it is so much easier now than it used to be to just listen to your story. You can even put it on 2 times speed and get through it in no time flat. I would dare say that if your novel is not in an audio version, then you are missing out on a huge potential amount of customers. However, as a self-published author, how do you get your book read? So the little skit before this shows a guy pitching to a big corporate group. Of course, they're all me, but let's say, for instance, that you know some people that could maybe read your book for you. They have good sounding voices, and you think, yeah, they'd be perfect for my book. So you start hitting up your family, friends. One thing, even if they decide to go for it, they're going to run into a problem. If they're not a professional voiceover artist, if they don't have a room dedicated to this kind of thing, they're going to find out, like I did when I had one of my relatives try reading my book, and later when he gave up and I tried doing it, that it is not an easy thing to do. First off, if you're not used to speaking that much, you're going to wear your throat out really fast. A good voiceover artist could probably have this done in a couple days to a week. They might take a little longer, but it just depends on the voiceover artist and their schedule. The other thing that I noticed was that every time that I started reading, one of my neighbors would start their lawnmower. Or I'd get a loud car going by with the sound system blaring, or a motorcycle would go by, or an airplane would fly over, and something would happen that would make my audio pretty well unusable, and I'd have to start over. It got to be where the only times I could record were late at night or early in the morning when most people were not up and about. Oh, and did I mention family and kids coming in and disturbing you while you're recording? Yeah, that can happen too. But getting your book read by a professional voiceover artist is not really that hard to do. I'm going to explain how I do it. So for me, my favorite tool is to go to voices.com. So voices.com, what I like about this place is that you can go through... stupid cookies. Okay. So what I like about voices.com is that they have a whole lot of talent on here. You can go through all these different voiceover artists, and they just got a whole bunch of them, and I believe that you can actually sort through them. You know, what are you looking for to find in a voice talent? Animation, audiobooks. Yes, I'm looking for audiobooks. So you go to audiobooks, you can pick your language, you can pick out whether you want male or female, and you can narrow this down to get the type of voice that you're looking for. Now, when I did this, I found a person to read my book, 1 for the money, 2 for the soul. And there's a couple ways of doing this. You can have them be on a royalty basis, or on a fee basis. I like to do a fee basis because it's a one-time payment. They record it for you, they give it back to you, and you're done. A royalty basis, which probably they wouldn't even want to do with you if you're a self-published artist, is that every time you sell a book, they get a piece of the pie. If you got a ton of books that are selling, maybe they might want to do this, but my guess is that you're not in that realm yet, and that's not going to apply to you. There are, however, voiceover artists who are very popular. I've got family and friends who, when they go looking for a new audiobook to read, sometimes they won't even search for an author's name. They'll search for the voiceover artist's name and just take a gamble on whatever book they most recently published. But let's not go there. That's not us. I don't think that we're going to be selling millions of copies of anything. They're not going to want to do a royalty program with us. And let's face it, that's going to be really hard for us to manage every time we sell a book, sending a check off to them. Let's stick with the fee-based schedule here. And for that, you're probably going to be looking at how many words are in your book, how long it's going to take for them to record it. And one of the nice things about going with a voiceover artist is they should know how to format your book so that it is acceptable through all the various audiobook retailers. For instance, Amazon's Audible has some very strict guidelines that you need to follow. And if you don't follow those, you might be able to get in on some of the other distributors, but you will not get in with Audible, which is arguably one of the biggest audiobook suppliers out there right now. And granted, you could go through the ADX program and find an Audible authorized voiceover artist that works just with them, but then you're exclusive to Audible. And if you're like me, I like to have my content available in a wide market. I do it with my books when I self-publish those, and I do it with my audiobooks when I do that also. Okay, so say you found your perfect voiceover artist. They record your book. Great, you're going to get it back. And then what I do is I will listen to the audio, and if I find any issues with it, I'll send back the clip, tell them the time code, and have them re-record that piece, get it sounding really good again. Okay, so once you've got your audiobook completed, what you're going to do is you're going to send all the files for that over to Findaway Voices, or at least that's where I choose to distribute mine. Findaway Voices is going to have you fill out all the important information for your book, and then they will distribute it to all of the different channels that would sell audiobooks, including Audible, assuming that you formatted it right, which isn't really that hard, especially if you're working with a good voiceover artist. Now, I would suggest that you give yourself enough time on this so that they can get it uploaded into their catalog and it can be viewable by everyone. When I did this last, I gave myself about a month or so, and that was not enough time to get on every retailer's catalog. I'm hoping by the time that this gets released that Audible is now carrying my book, One for the Money, Two for the Soul, but I cannot guarantee that at this time. But keep an eye out for it. If that's the only place you shop for your audiobooks, then it should show up eventually here. If not, it's already on Spotify. It's on, I don't even know all the other audiobook sellers out there, but it's on all the others. Going this route for me is a whole lot better than bugging family members or friends who would otherwise record it for me and just being like, hey guy, why aren't you done yet? Where's my book? How far are you into it? You don't want to go down that rabbit hole. Just hire somebody to do it for you. You may not make your money back right away, but you will get it back eventually if you keep at it. Anyhow, that's my process for getting an audiobook created from my book, and I would suggest that anyone who writes a novel should get their book in audio form. Alright, so if you're following me for the filmmaking journey as well as the writing journey, let's talk about that little skit that I just did here. Obviously, it's not the best quality in the world, but hey, I'm still hobbling around on a bad foot, so give me a little slack here. One of my two biggest critiques on this was that I still leaned into AI a little bit, and that did not work out very well. And the other thing is that my acting was not all that good. Now, I want to talk about both of these. So the first part was my acting. I've taken acting lessons. I have a good idea of what I should have done while acting this. However, one of the biggest problems I had with this is I was doing it in my company's office. And there are multiple people who office out of there, and there's just so much going on that, I mean, while it was quiet, they were working in their offices, and I was very self-conscious about acting and talking my roles while they're all listening. I mean, they already saw me carry up my lighting setups, they already knew what I was doing, but I was not feeling like I was free to play the role that I needed to with the enthusiasm that I needed to play it. So as you are going through so that's one thing that is important as an actor, is to have a safe place that you can act efficiently. The best thing I could have done would have been to come back at an hour when the office was empty, and I could have done this all on my own without having to feel self-conscious about the people around me. The next issue that I learned on this was that, I'll admit that I've known this all the time, but I have the subscription to Kling AI, so I'm trying really hard to learn how to prompt it right, see what it is capable of, see what it is more efficient at doing for me. And so on this one, as you'll notice, everybody around the conference table, including the guy who comes in, that's all me. I filmed myself in multiple situations and then just spliced it all together. However, I wanted to turn each of those people into an individual person, so I was going to do a face swap through AI. Problem I had with this was that, especially if there was a talking role in it, the AI made it so that the talking changed. And even when the talking still stayed, it was stinted. It wasn't normal. And then to go back through and do a lip sync feature while there's multiple characters in the scene, it would be really hard to get that to work on just one of those individual characters. So in the end, I decided to keep everybody participating as myself. And even when I just tried to change the hair, I added hair onto one of my characters, and he was one that was talking. He's kind of the one who's supposed to be the boisterous guy with all the new ideas. It worked. I got good hair on him, which I haven't had in a long time. I think bald's better anyways, but I was just trying to differentiate him, and he got the hair, but he stopped talking. And that was a problem because he has the most lines in that skit. The next thing I did with AI was that I tried to add the security guards in to take him away. Now, this was kind of weird because I had one other version of me as a security guard, and whenever I fed these two characters into the AI program to have them drag the person away, they didn't really want to cooperate. I worked on multiple different ways of prompting this, and for whatever reason, the AI wants to keep the main characters front and center. So they would start dragging him off screen, but then they'd start shimmying back into the middle of the frame. It was kind of like they didn't know what to show. It was kind of like if they only showed background and no characters, then they did something wrong, even if the prompt stated very clearly in multiple different ways that they were to drag them off screen, and all we'd be left with was the blank background there. So there was issues with that. Other times they tried to go through an imaginary door in the wall. I think that where AI shines is not going to be doing something this complex, even though it doesn't seem like it should be that complex, but little swaps here and there, something where you can highlight a little piece of something and then have that changed. And I just don't think it's quite there yet. So I'm still experimenting. I'm still seeing where AI can fit into my workflow. For me, so far, the best workflow I've found is to have it generate backgrounds for me. But any character animations that I want to have keep the acting that I had before are hard. And you'll notice that as they're dragging my character away, he starts talking weird and things start becoming sluggish. It's like they went into slow motion for some reason. And so, yeah, AI is not as helpful yet as I need it to be, but I'm still working on it. I'm sure I'll find the best way to use it in the future, but we're still a work in progress there. Anyhow, if today's content has been helpful to you, please like, subscribe, and look for my audiobook, One for the Money, Two for the Soul by Brent Lindstrom. It's out there, and hopefully you will enjoy it as much as I did. See you next time.